to save me from myself. This emptiness, it hurts like hell. My good intentions let me down. I keep getting in my way. My stubborn pride will dig my grave. Leaves it behind with every step I take. Yeah, cycle down, walls are coming down. I gotta make it out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Look my fear right in the eye. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive. I just wanna feel alive.
Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, it's still Tuesday, right? Yep, still Tuesday. Hope you guys are doing well. Nice to see you again. Sorry again about missing you last week and having to do all those recordings that were not on time. I totally just, had the wrong expectation for how much free time I'd have just sitting around at the hospital or the hotel. So apologize for that, and I'll be much more prepared when I have to go back in November. And that'll be fun, but we'll get there. So we got the rest of October to get through, and we've got a couple things on our plate, and we are officially a fifth of the way done. Right, we're all the way through the first 5 chapters of the book. You guys are doing great, and then we're going to pick up functions this week. Next week we'll talk about strings and do some review for the midterm. We'll do the midterm during the lab period, but it doesn't have to be in person in the lab. Although I think we're down to 13 folks now in the class, so maybe we could fit. But again, I mentioned we probably won't do it in person, so I won't hold you to it. That one will be a timed quiz in Canvas. So like once you hit start, you'll only have so much time before you have to hit submit. And I'll get all sorts of more info for you when we do our midterm review. And I'll get last year's midterm for you guys to look at. So hopefully there won't be any surprises there. And we just keep on moving through our content. So speaking of labs, by the way, no one came this week. Maybe I didn't mention that I was going to be there. I thought I said I would unless I told you otherwise, or it was just confusing, or like 2 people only come ever anyway. So I think we're going to be moving labs to fully virtual. And I can just sit on Discord and hang out if you guys have questions. I'll try and keep it open so it will ping me. Someone had added me, and for some reason it didn't beep on my computer. Maybe I didn't have my volume up high enough, but I'll work on that. I think we'll just be doing virtual labs from here on out. So to save everyone the drive time. If you want to meet in person on the lab time, I'd be happy to arrange that with you. Just shoot me an email or text or find me on Discord, and we can arrange a time to meet for sure. So we can go from there. Other things coming up. I apparently forgot to post chapters 4 and 5 quizzes until yesterday. So those are coming up due next Monday, 11:59 p.m. as well. Again, I'm hoping to give you at least a week for everything. Nice, all these political text messages. That's awesome. So you should have at least a week for everything that I post. Labs, quizzes, other stuff, projects, at least 2 weeks for projects. Don't forget the first project is coming up due before class starts on Thursday. So we'll take a quick minute, go over that project again real quick. Let's see, come on. Yep. So this is our daily 4 lotto simulator, and we're only doing some basic checking here. So 4 random numbers as the winning numbers inside of a loop that tracks total spent, total won, and net loss. We get to ask the user if they want the easy pick, which is we pick numbers for them, or if they want to pick the numbers themselves. If they pick numbers, make sure they're only entering 0 through 9 in some sort of input validation loop. So we got like loops inside of loops inside of ifs, and it'll be a little bit crazy, but that's okay. We'll work through it. The 2 things we're going to check for is a straight win, where they match all 4 numbers in order. Right? They get a $5,000 prize. The other thing we're going to check for, because I don't actually understand how the rest of them work, and this one I think was interesting, is check for a one-off win, in which 3 of the 4 numbers match in order, and then the 4th number is only off by 1, meaning that it is either 1 above or 1 below the number there. And I don't know if that actually means, like, is a 0 next to a 9? I want to say no. So don't worry about it unless you already did it. But again, I don't expect you to go from 0 and say, hey, 9 must be next to 0. Like, I would assume we're looking at like a number line, and we're looking at left and right on a number line. So like if you're at 1, it's a 0 or a 2 is a 1-off. But if you're at 0, there is no -1, but there's a 1. So a 1 could be a 1-off. So don't worry about trying to loop back to 9. I think that's probably more confusing than it'd be worth. So that's a $275 prize. And then we'll print the total spent, total won, and net loss every time. And they keep playing as long as they want to until they tell us they want to quit. So just keep them in the loop until they are ready to quit. Does that make sense for what we're aiming for here? And I've got the rubric for the 10 points for this project, how you can earn them here. Random numbers are generated, a point. Easy pick, that's we pick for you. Random numbers, 1 point. Pick their own numbers, 1 point. When they pick, this validation loop is worth 2 points there. The straight win is 1 point. Checking for the one-off is a little bit harder, so that's 2 points there. Tracking total spent, net total won, and net loss, 1 point, and then keeping them in the loop until they're done for another point there. That should be 10 of your points. So again, it's totally up to you. I'd expect everyone to get all of these done, but if you're in a time crunch and can't make it, be selective about what you're skipping here and aim for the most possible points. Does that make sense? You guys are awfully quiet in chat. Let's see, do we even have anybody? Looks like there's a couple people. There's a way I can see who's in chat. I gotta remember that button. There we go. Oh yeah, I got a couple people there. How you guys doing? You guys quiet? Alright. Let me add a poll here for fun. This is, how is it going? Say, like, I'm totally lost. I'm barely following. I'm okay. Okay, I'm great, or I'm bored. Just let me know. So go ahead and fill that out for me. It should be there in your Twitch chat. We got a minute to fill it out while I drink some coffee. Let's see, someone else on Discord. Yep, no problem there. And you can always chat me on Discord too. Are you guys actually checking the channel at all? Our Python channel? There in the Discord? I think someone had asked about the lecture in it, so in the labs. So a couple of people are, which is good. When you join, if you're not familiar with Discord, you can mute the channels you don't care about. So feel free to mute the other classes if you don't want to learn anything about Java or C++. That's okay. Not a big deal at all. So let me know how you're feeling. How's it going so far in class? Take that Twitch chat poll for me. We got some tea while we were at Valley Forge National Park. We have to do a little bit of sightseeing to break up the craziness. There we go. So 4 votes for I'm okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm okay. Okay is good. Okay is the minimum. That's good. Don't sweat it if you're only okay. That's perfectly fine. You guys are new. You've been doing this for 5 weeks. So again, don't have super high expectations. Like the point of these exercises and projects are to get you to code and to try and solve problems. Right? They shouldn't be easy, but they should be something you have the skills and ability to do based on what we've talked about in class, based on what you've done in Zybooks, and it should be something you can accomplish is the goal. If you have questions, please ask me, but don't ask me Thursday at noon when it's due at 3:30, right? Like, ask me early so that you can get it done on time. If all 13 of you wait until Thursday at 2 p.m. to ask me questions, I'm not going to be able to answer all of your questions or meet with you or do anything like that. So definitely get started early. Shouldn't be too long to get this done. And again, you want to tackle it in this idea of being incremental. We want to solve one problem at a time. Let's do this piece, and then let's do this piece, and then we'll do this piece, and then we'll do this piece. And you can kind of imagine this checklist or the rubric here is like a checklist, right? Okay, can I get some random winning numbers? Perfect. All right, can I get an easy pick ticket? Perfect. Can I pick your own numbers? Perfect. Or whatever order you want to go in, right? So kind of work your way through and add in features as you go, and that'll work a lot better for you. So let's check out PyCharm here. We're going to look at some functions. So functions are one of my favorite things in programming here because they do a couple things. The idea with functions is just like with our variables, you can put a name to what's happening. Right? And we've actually used some functions before, right? We've done rounding, we did the ceiling function, we've printed, right? Print is a function. And we've converted, I guess converting numbers isn't really a function. It's kind of close. But either you'll get something back from your function or you won't. But the idea is your function will do something here. So we're going to have some fun little functions here. You need a definition and then the block of the function. So function is just a named block of code, which is really cool. So all we've done so far is like print hello world, and we start at line 1, and then we go on down, and then we'll do line 2, and then we'll do line 3, and we'll do line 4, and then we looked at branching, where I can say, if this is true, run this block of code, else if, run this block of code, else if, so we might skip through some of the code. And then we looked at loops, where we'd start here, and we go down to the bottom, and we check something. If it's true, we are to do the loop again, and we repeat the same line of code. But what function let us do is they let us jump, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to define a function with this def keyword. Notice it turns orange because it's a reserved word here in Python. So this is a special word. So we're going to use define, short for define, and we give it the name of our function. We follow the same convention for naming, so it's all lowercase with the underscores in between. So let's say this is going to be, I don't know, let's say print hello. And then you use a set of parentheses. For now, they're going to be blank. Later, we'll look at how we can put things inside of here. And all we're going to do when we call print hello is we'll say print hello world, and then print, I don't know, I am the computer. Nice to meet you. Right, we'll just do those two things. And then what we can do is we can call print hello the function with a set of parentheses. So print hello is the name of the function right here, and it wants 2 spaces, 2 empty lines between them. I think that's why it's complaining. Yep, there we go. So this will call the function, and we'll watch here. So I'm going to put my PyCharm here, put a breakpoint in. You just click in the gray space next to the line. Definitely want to get familiar with using breakpoints and running in debug mode. It's super helpful. I'm going to right click, instead of run, I'm going to click debug. And we can watch the program go step by step by step, and we can watch to see what happens. It takes it just a second longer. Oh, I forgot to tell you about the tea. So we got it at Valley Forge. It's a smoked tea. It's really interesting. There's actually like some smoked flavor in it. It reminds me of a campfire. I don't know if it's my favorite thing to drink, but it's super interesting for sure. All right, so we have gotten here in our debugger, we're at line 6. So this spot over here on the left, it says main.py 6. That means line 6. Now I want to step into my code. That's my favorite button here in PyCharm. You say step into my code, and you're going to see it's going to jump here. And now we're from main.py line 6 to main.py line 2 inside the print hello function. So Python's keeping track. It's saying, okay, I was at line 6, but now you just said, go do this thing, this block of code up here. Sorry, my lighting is really crazy right now. I think it's just getting bright outside. And we're ready to run line 2 of the print hello function. So we'll step, and then we come back to line 6 and we're done. Program's over. So if we look at the console, we say, hello world, I'm the computer, nice to meet you. And again, we could do some other things. We could like print, hi computer, I'm Eric. Probably with a capital E, right? That's more Englishy. And then we'll just print hello again. Whoops, no semicolons. They're doing too much Java. So it lets us repeat a block of code as well, which is pretty handy, right? Anytime you have repeated code, you should feel bad about yourself. I think I've said a couple times on occasion. So this lets me have a repeated block of code and just call it by name. So I mean, it would be the exact same thing to just put these 2 lines here and put those 2 lines here. We'll get the exact same job done, but I'm putting a nice name to what's happening, right? I'm giving a little bit of context around what is it doing here, and then it lets me not repeat the code. So all I need to do is call the function, and it lets it work. So functions are pretty handy. They let you do lots of good stuff here. But again, just a single block of code is not super interesting. So maybe what's more interesting is for it to do something based on a variable. Right, like when we were rounding, we gave the round function when we did the import math, and then it was print, what was it? pi rounded to 3 digits is, oh, we should do that as a nice formatted string, right? Math dot round. I think it was round. 3.14159 something or other. Wait, is that going to do it for us? No, I don't think that's what. Let's go look it up. I'm not remembering off the top of my head. Oh, that's okay. So Python math round. Nope, not route. Round. Oh, look, it even knew what I meant. Round up integer to the next 100. Let's see if this one's any good. Sometimes it's hit or miss. There we go. Yeah, to 2 decimal places. Perfect. So it is round. Oh, do I not even need math? It's built in. All right. I am confused. Sorry, guys. So we can skip that. Just say round to 2 decimal places. Let's give that a shot. Yeah, 3.14. Look at that. So it rounded for me. So this was a function that we called round, and it gave us a value back. And we were giving it a value as well. So if we wanted to write a function, like, I don't know, countdown is a pretty common one, and we would say number. So what happens here is when we call countdown, we have to provide it something that will be the variable of number. Now Python's a little funny. We typically say it is a trusty sort of language, and we're going to assume people are going to give us the right thing for number. There's things we can do to check to make sure they actually give me an integer value. We're just going to skip that because we don't care at this point. We can be more particular later after you've had more than 5 weeks of coding. So it's possible you give someone like a string and this will just fail. But that's okay. We're not going to worry too much about it here. So we want to say while number is greater than 0, let's print number. And then we want to make sure this loop will eventually become become false. We'll take -1. So you give me a number, as long as it's greater than 0, I'm going to print it and take 1 away. Print it and take 1 away. Print it, take 1 away. Print it, take 1 away. So when it becomes 0, this loop will no longer run, and I'm not going to print 0. Right? So let's try it. So let's say we'll count down, and let's give it 10. Right, and let's see if I can count down from 10. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Look at that, it worked. But then what I could also do is I could count down, say from 20, right? Or I can count down from some user input, right? So some number to count down from is an int of an input. Number to count down, and then we'll call countdown. Countdown, given the number to count down from. Right, so we can use some user input, some user variable here in our function. So it's kind of cool. So we can use the function to have a nice name to what happens, and let's count down from, say, 5. We get 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off, right? That sort of thing. Should we add a blast off for fun? Print blast off. Right, so we do that outside the loops. Once the loop's done, we'll print blast off. Make sure it works. Right, just adding in little features and trying it. Yeah, blast off, blast off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. Oh, that seemed more exciting than it probably actually is. So what we did with our function is we said, hey, you need to give me this. Technically, it is a parameter when it's defined. So number is a parameter to the function. When you give it something, this is an argument. Sure. I mean, I don't really care if you call it parameters or arguments. Essentially the same thing, but some people are particular, so why not? Right? We can learn the correct lingo. So the function lets me do something with this number that's given. And then one other fun thing here, let's print the number to count down here. When we hand it a number, it's not going to be able to change that number. So if I hand it 5, even though we're taking that number, whatever you gave me, and subtracting 1 from it, it's not going to stay changed back here in my code. Because what you're doing when you're handing it a number here is we're doing this thing called pass by value, and I'm actually making a copy of this number to hand it to your function. That'll matter more later once we start talking about some other types, other things you can pass to functions. You can do all sorts of fun stuff. Right? And we've used functions like sum, right? where we're able to sum an entire list. We passed it a list as its argument. You can do some cool stuff. So those are some parameters. You can have multiple parameters, which is really cool. So let's say we wanted to have, and you do need to define your functions before they're used. Python is not all that smart. So your function definitions usually are at the top because you need to say what it is before you define it. If you try to move this print hello down to the bottom, it's going to be really confused when you try and print hello because it says, oh, it's unresolved reference. It doesn't know what that is. Other languages you can get away with that, not in Python. So just make sure you put your function definitions at the top and you should be good to go. So we're going to define a function here. We'll call this area of a rectangle that takes a length and a width. This is not very interesting. We just return length times width. So what return does is it's saying, I'm going to give you back a value. Where countdown just did something and stopped, this return keyword says, I'm going to give you a value back. So just like round gives you a value back, gives you something that you can do, or input gives you that string back, or int gives you the integer back, so it's something you can assign. If we were trying to assign this countdown function, result equals countdown and then print result, we're not going to get anything good. It's going to be garbage because countdown doesn't return any values. So we get this none. None's a special word in Python. It means we got nothing. Null in other languages, if you're familiar with it. So we should not assign a function to a variable if it doesn't return a value. None for you. Right, capital N none. It's specific here. Okay, but this area of a rectangle is going to return a value. So we can ask for a length and a width, or we could just print, area of a rectangle of a 4x5 rectangle is, and we'll call area of a rectangle, and we'll give it 4 and 5 for length and width. Right, so that will give us a value, and it should be 20, right? If we didn't mess up here, right? Because length times width gives us the area. We okay so far? So let's say you return a value from your function. So it just depends what you want to do with your functions, right? If you want to return something, great. If you don't need to, that's okay too. Not a big deal. Let's see. Yep. All right. One other crazy thing that Python does here is because we don't have to specify that this is an integer and this is an integer, you can give it any particular values, is you can do some weird things here. So if we were to define, I'm sorry, let's just leave it area of a rectangle and let's give it something that it probably doesn't expect. Let's say this is 4 and a 5. Right? It's going to try and do the arithmetic, character 4 times 5. And you know what? Python lets us do that because Python is crazy. Look at that. We get 4 5 times. Oh, you want a dad joke? All right, I just got a couple good ones here, which is awesome. So let's see. Let's see. This is good. It's going to break up the time. Yes. So I don't often lock up my house during the day because we're here all the time, so I don't usually keep a key with me. When we left for vacation, we had the house locked up, and we get home from vacation, and I forgot to bring the key with me or whatever it was. So I called the locksmith, and the locksmith said, all you have to do is just talk calmly to your lock because communication is key. Didn't open the door for me, though. That was a bummer. How was that one? Was that one decent? Sabuski? Sebzuski? Sebzuski? I don't know how to say it. You know, I think I still prefer coffee. I think I had asked, are any of you guys freshmen? I think one of you was a freshman, right? So you may or may not have actually been to campus. before. But I used to have a pretty active Pokemon Go community going. There's a Facebook group chat people were in, and we play. There's lots of good gyms around and Pokestops around, especially near the CIS building, which was fun. So I got this mug from my wife. She knows I like Pokemon, so this is nice. It's a nice oversized mug. So Snorlax is awesome. So anyway, Python does this thing called dynamic typing, or duck typing, I think it's been referred to before as well, where it's just going to take an argument, right? You tell it whatever length is, and it will do it here. Now what happens if I turn both of these into strings? Oops. It's not going to be so happy with me, because it can't multiply a string by a string, but it can multiply a string by a number. Right, so now I get an error. Can't multiply sequence by non-int of type string. So,
do we have a cord?
Power cord?
For the Mac?
Yeah, it's in the back room. I shouldn't need it without full battery.
Okay. But we have to get it on that internet.
Yeah.
Okay, it's fine.
Sorry. Your dad's got the Wi-Fi password. Sorry, my little guy broke our piano at home, so my daughter has to go over to the grandparents for her piano lesson. Which is nice that it broke. That's awesome. So anyway, so it's going to try and do the thing with whatever variables you give it, whatever types of variables you give it. So a lot of times it means weird stuff can happen. So it's usually, we say it's like, it's up to the person calling the function to make sure they give it the right stuff. So that's all. You just got to be careful with it. So yeah, dynamic typing, it will just fit, which is cool. It's got some other terms for you there. All right. Yes, so a couple of reasons why we talked about writing functions. Let's for fun, let's do this. Let me start up a new project. Van Halen. Is that a music person? A band? A guy in the band? Press F to pay respects in chat. Let's see. Let me start a new project here for fun. 0 stub. Now, again, you don't need to use functions at all for project 0. They're definitely not required. This window over here. But if you wanted to, you could. So what I'm going to do, we're going to look at building out some function stubs that don't actually do anything here, and show you how we could go about building our program step by step, which is fun. Okay? So you know what? I've never actually read that help text. Press double shift to search everywhere. Neat. Look at that. That's really handy. Put a breakpoint in. Awesome. That's kind of fun. Okay. Anyway, so what we might imagine doing is how would we break out this problem here? Let's see. Oh, that's not it. The triple block? Trying to remember. No, is that really it? That looked ugly. Let's see if I can put it in Notepad first. Okay, maybe that'll be happier. Nope. Why does that not paste in though? Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to bother. That's all right. We'll just go back and forth. So a couple things we wanted to do, right, is to get a set of winning numbers. So maybe we'll have a function for get winning numbers. And that doesn't need any arguments, right? It's just going to do something. And eventually we're going to return some numbers. If you want to return multiple values, you just comma separate them. We'll just say it's 4 zeros for now. There's a rule about values. When you return them, you can only return a single value. But what Python does for us, because it's just amazing, is it says, oh hey, if you want to return more than one thing, I'm going to assume it's a tuple. And a tuple is one thing. It just happens to be one list of things. Right? Does that make sense? So it sort of cheats for us and says, oh, if you want to return more than one value, I'll just make a single tuple and I'll return a single thing. It just happens to be a tuple here. So you don't even need the parentheses. It will do that tupling thing for you, which is fine, right? So we can get some winning numbers here. right? So this idea of this is what we want to do, right? We have some winning numbers. Great, we're done. We need to have total spent, total won, net loss. Sure, that's fine here. And then maybe they pick themselves. So maybe we'll have a function for define user pick numbers. Sure, and that returns. Eventually we'll return some values here, but just for now I'm going to put in zeros, and we can go fix this later. So what I'm doing is I'm stubbing this out, writing some essentially empty methods to sort of organize how we want to do this here. And really, this winning numbers, if you think about the easy pick and the winning numbers here, it's the exact same thing, right? So maybe we just want to say, hey, that's random numbers, like get random numbers, and this could either be a winning ticket or an easy pick, right? We see how we're reducing the redundant code there? Right? If all I'm going to do is pick 4 numbers, then I can use the exact same thing. All right, now we need to check for winning. So let's check for a straight win. So we'll define check for straight win. And that is going to need a winning ticket list of numbers and the user ticket list of numbers. Right? If I give you those two things, a winning ticket and a user ticket, I can tell you how much money you win. For now, I'm just going to assume it's 0. Right? And then we'll check for one-off win, given, again, a winning ticket and a user ticket. Sure, why not? Oh man, my phone is going crazy here. What's going on? Maybe I should put it on silent. Oh, the kids walked out the door. Go figure. Alright. Are we okay so far? You see how we're kind of writing these stubs? And again, we're going to assume it's 0 for now, until we know otherwise. Okay, so that's checking for a straight win, checking for a one-off win, keeping track of total spent, total won, and net loss. We still have to do that, and then there's some sort of loop for whether or not they want to play again. So let's define ask to play again. Again, it doesn't need to be a super complicated function. We're going to return, how about no for now? Yes or no, it doesn't matter, right? So it doesn't really do a whole lot of interesting stuff yet, but we've got some functions here. So what we've done is we've taken a problem and we've broken it down into smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller problems to fix. That's called functional decomposition. It's my favorite technical term in all of programming. Especially because, I mean, my family knows I'm a giant nerd, so they're not surprised. And my brother is actually a programmer. My father-in-law is a programmer. My parents are engineers, so like they're not weirded out by me being a weird nerd or anything. But usually, like if you go to your Thanksgiving dinner and you throw out a term like, "Oh man, I was so busy doing all that functional decomposition for class," you're gonna get some really funny looks, and it will probably be funny. I mean, if you think that sort of thing is funny. But it's a great technical term, right? And all it is we're just taking a big problem and breaking it into smaller problems and smaller problems and smaller problems. So I promise it's much easier to solve this problem than it is to do the entire project. And it's much easier to solve this problem than it is to do the entire project, right? And we can just kind of build on it little step by little step by little step here. Right, so we need to track this total spent, total won, net loss, right? So we probably need some variables in here for that. I don't think that needs to be inside of a function. Right, those are probably just variables we keep, like total spent probably starts at 0, total won we're going to start at 0, and net loss. I mean, we just calculate that. That's how much you won minus how much you spent. Right, we just don't even really need to like keep a current total. We just calculate it whenever we want it here, and we pretty much just do this thing as long as they want to play again. Right. So like we do a loop and we keep them in the loop until they want to no longer play again. So like while ask to play again does not equal a no, or I don't know, while it equals a yes, do this thing. Right? And maybe we make sure that this function eventually will give us a yes, and we keep them doing something. Right? So and every time they buy a ticket, right, total spent is going to be, oops, sorry, I should close out of that. You don't need Slack. So maybe we have a function, right? So for define ask player or wait, I'm in class. No, out. No, out. Out, please. I don't have it. Go find it. Look in your room. like ask player for easy pick or manual. I don't know, something like that. Sure. And you know, again, I don't know, you return a easy or you return manual. I don't know. You come up with it, right? So total spent is 1 when you buy a ticket, and then right. So if ask player for easy pick, oops. If ask player for easy pick is equal to easy, right? And then, you know, I don't know, the player ticket equals, what do we say? User pick numbers. Sure, the user ticket, right? User ticket. This sort of thing, right? Okay, sure. And if they didn't want easy pick, else then the user ticket equals random numbers. Get random numbers, that sort of thing. Right, and then we have a winning ticket in here. Winning ticket equals get random numbers. Okay, right, then we need to see if they win money. Right, so total 1 plus equals, and I can just get whatever I get out here. Right? I either get 0 or I get some money. So I guess if you get a straight, I guess a straight win would not be a one-off, so that's fine. So let's check for straight win, giving the winning ticket and the user ticket. Right, and or my total 1 plus equals check for one-off win, giving the winning ticket and the user ticket. That sort of thing. Right, and then maybe we need to print total spent, total 1, net loss. Again, if you don't have a net loss, right, like if you're not losing money, you've done something wrong. Because I guarantee it, this lotto simulator will lose you money. I mean, the lotto doesn't lose money, otherwise the state wouldn't have it. Right? The state runs it because it makes them money. Right? Does that make sense? And then we just ask if they want to play again. And we keep on going. Does that sort of make sense? So we don't actually have any functionality in here. I guess we did a little bit here, but you know, this is not super interesting at all. The real work of it comes into how do I fix these functions now? How do I get these function stubs down? Right? This little loop, sure. I mean, okay, I gave that one to you. Hopefully you don't feel too bad about that. And again, it doesn't have to work this way. There's nothing wrong with doing it without functions. But what happens here is it lets me kind of focus, is I can solve this problem, and then I can solve this problem, and I can solve this problem, or solve this problem. And you can just tackle things one at a time. And I mean, ideally it should run. You know, it's not going to be very interesting because my ask the user to play again is going to be no. I guess we can change it to yes if we wanted to. Yeah, it doesn't do anything. Let's change that one to yes. Let's assume they always want to play again until we find out otherwise. Oh, it's an infinite loop, right? Because we're not actually asking anything. The get random numbers doesn't do anything. We're just returning zeros here. We're not actually printing any values. That sort of thing. No, I'm sorry, Dodo. There's no Python programming tag that I could find. And like when I put in programming, the only thing that comes up is basic programming. Maybe I'm using Twitch badly. Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't bother me too much. I guess it does a little bit, but I don't know. If you can find me a better tag, I'd be happy to use it. So does this make sense for how we could use functions to kind of stub out? Right? They don't actually do anything yet, but we can go and we can add the functionality here, right? To do this sort of thing, little bit by little bit by little bit by little bit, to make our program work. Right? And you know, this is sure. This is easy enough to return input of you want to play again, y/n or something. And again, you might as well like upper, take it to upper when you're done to make sure you get the uppercase or lowercase. I don't think so. I was looking for a programming tag and didn't see one. So yeah, hey, do we want to play again? Yes, 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 no, and it stops. Right? Again, nothing super fancy here, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with this being its own function. Again, we get a nice little name to it, which is fun. There's nothing wrong with it. I guess it's a little bit annoying because you get asked if you want to play again before you even start, but I don't really care too much about it. Right? It's fine. Not a big deal here. I guess you could ask if they want to play again at the end and then actually have that as a variable. It's probably a better way to go about it here. Right? You know, like we'd have like play again equals a yes to make it start. We'll make this play again And then at the end of the loop, we'll say play again is equal to ask to play again. There we go. So that'll be prettier. Now we don't get asked the very first time. So we'll always buy one ticket, right? And then maybe we'll play again or not. Okay? Let me see if what is it? Edit my stream info. Is that what it is? Category. Let's see. I can plop this down here, right? Here's my category. Oh, I broke it. Come on. Come back. There we go. Edit stream info. Come on. Yeah, that's like Twitch Inception here. And category. Programming. Like, none of those looked like regular programming. So, I mean, it's like an intro class, so I assume basic was fine. I searched like Python. Like, none of those looked correct either. Maybe funky Python. So I don't know. I did that and I left it there. So, all right. So this idea of using functions, right? It puts a name to what's happening, which is fantastic. I think that's the most beneficial use. Then also we can do that kind of modular development, which is fantastic, super useful too, where we kind of break this down with the functional decomposition, smaller and smaller and smaller. And then of course you get to avoid redundant code, which is good. You shouldn't feel bad about yourself, right? Because if you have repeated code, you should feel bad about yourself, right? Ha 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 ha, that sort of thing. Sure. You know, another fun thing you can do is you can like have a function like define get total winnings. And you could do something silly like, hey, give me a winning ticket and the user ticket. And in here you can just return check for straight win plus check for one-off win. And each of those needs the winning ticket. Okay, that's a little bit large for a line here, but that's okay. We won't feel too bad about it. Maybe we can go down one. Sure. Right, so I can have one function that just calls both and sums them together. Makes this even easier for me, right? So I just say get total winnings, giving the winning ticket and the user ticket. Right, one function can call another function. This function calls this function and calls this function, adds the results together. For now we know it's always 0 because we didn't actually program it for that sort of thing. So you can do this level of modular development, right? Break it into pieces until you're happy with it, and then start solving those problems. Okay, so hopefully this makes Project 1 feel a little bit, or Project 0 feel a little bit better for you. Let me check my GitHub here, and I'll commit this code for you. Feel free to use this as a starter. If you do, right, leave a citation, right? Say, hey, I got this starter code from, here's the URL. It's always a good habit in academia. 1501, fall 2020. There we go. To cite your sources. Always a good habit to get into. So why not? Just leave the URL as a comment. So this is functions. I think I spelled that wrong, but that's okay. Yeah, I sure did. Yeah. I won't even try and pronounce it because I think I did a bad thing there. But that's okay. You know I meant functions. You guys know. You understand. You guys are a really quiet bunch, and it makes me a little sad. I don't know. I miss being able to see the glazed look on your face when you have no idea what's going on, or you nodding along. Like, okay, yeah, I get this. This is good. Because honestly, if you're not telling me, if you're not messaging me in Discord or texting me or emailing me or calling me and telling me you're not getting it, I've got no clue. I did reach out to 2 people who haven't submitted stuff lately to just like check in, see what's going on. I'm here to help you learn it. Anybody can go buy the book. Ideally, what you pay for when you're taking a college class is someone to help you learn it. Teach it to you, I don't necessarily think is the right term, because really I'm helping you learn, right? I'm just getting up, giving some examples. Getting up, yeah, I'm sitting in my chair, but I'm giving you examples, trying to illustrate some of these things, help you find what the important stuff is here, and give more examples to supplement the book. I hate giving the examples right out of the book, because then you're just seeing the exact same thing twice, and that's stupid, right? So I'm much more fond of giving you examples, and then you can go hopefully do the reading in the book, right? You get points for doing it, so go read the iBooks. I was a little bit sad looking at the completion statistics here. Out of the 13 of you who have the book, we have 30% of the loops chapter done, and that's just the participation. That's not even the challenge or the labs. That's just, did I click the things as I'm reading? Really got to step up your game on that. I don't want to have to do weekly reports and give you points for getting it done on time, because honestly it's just a lot of work for me and I don't care to do that. And I feel like you've got enough incentive to keep up with the reading so that you can do your labs and do your projects and actually pass the class, that you'll do the reading. You know, I know you guys have other classes and whatever else is going on, so I don't think it's unrealistic to say, hey, get it done. I mean, I'm being a little flexible with the timeline there, but it's got to happen for sure. So if you just don't do any reading and you only watch the lectures here, then you're not going to do so well. Right, Zybooks has lots of additional information. They write a good book. At least that's what feedback has been so far. Oops, dropped my phone. So, yeah, you know, like any class, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. And the more effort you put into it, the more you'll get out of it. And hopefully you're all here to learn to code in Python. And that's something you are interested in learning, not just to check off some electives or whatever required courses it may be. So yeah, let me know how it's going. Let me do that same poll again just for fun here. Can I just redo it? I guess I gotta do it again here. How's it going? Or how about how's it going now? Terrible, just okay, somewhat okay. Alright, we'll do like solid okay, good, or this is easy. Alright, so give me a response there. We got a couple people hanging out in Twitch chat. Let me know how it's going. If you're watching this as a recording later, just shoot me a note in Discord. Let me know how it's going. I'd be happy to connect and chat and see what's going on and how I can help. I think that's about as far as we're going to get in functions today. We still have all of Thursday to talk about functions. So we pretty much did through function stubs, and then we'll pick it back up at like 6-8 or so and keep on working with objects. And I'll go over a solution to project 1. I'm actually going to use my function or my project stub here, and I'll just solve these here. Right, solve these couple little one-offs, and we can go from there. Does that make sense? Yeah, so let me know how it's going. All right, cool. So a couple people said good. Let's see, what results? 2 people said good. Okay, so everyone else is just only sort of hanging out, but that's okay. Good. Good is good for those of you who are hanging out. I think we'll call that a day, and then we'll come back and finish up. Let me leave myself some notes here. I got to open up that other project. Oh, come on. I don't know why it doesn't remember where my projects are. Oh, I think it's in recent, right? There we go. Chapter 6 functions. There we go. There we go. So let's add a little reminder. Print to do for Thursday. Start with functions as objects. That's 6.8 or so, and we'll pick it up from there. So you know, we got part of the way through, and we looked at a little bit of project 1. Take this time. Right, we got an extra half hour or so. Please start project 0. Again, feel free to use my code there. It's committed, pushed, so you can just go and find it here. Let me add to do, commit and push. Oh, you can't see that window, sorry. We'll bring it down here. There we go. So use the project 0 stub. Just grab this URL and leave a note like, hey, sourced from, started from, you know, whatever. In your project, and I'll be happy with that as a citation, because I know what that is. Cool. All right, that's all I've got for you this afternoon. Let's see. Is there anyone else on Twitch we want to go hang out and see? I've been told it's bad form to keep rating the exact same people over and over and over again. So I was going to see if there are other people we haven't yet. Oh, here we go. Economics. There we go. Let's see if we can rate Professor Weaver, who's teaching econ, because that's econ's super cool. Let's see if we can. Oh, Weaver. We'll give it a shot. yeah, it looks like we can. So we'll hang out there. I don't think we've done it before. Again, raids are just for fun. I'll be in Discord for the next half hour or so, answering any questions you guys have, and then office hours after that. And we'll go from there. You guys take care.
Yes. So here under plan